ponder the question, what if?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our final season finale, season 2 finale episode about what if. So today we have Adam joining us for the first time for this season. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks.
And yeah, and Johnny's joining us again. But you
Hello.
may have noticed that someone may have been snapped away. But fear not. Stanford did send in his thoughts for this episode, so I'm going to play that really quick, and then the three of us are going to get into talking about it. And here we go.
I can't join the season 2 finale discussion, but what a way to end this season. You know, I've been wanting more Captain Carter and more Cohorty, and holy cow, did we get it? And then some. And, you know, I wasn't sure which direction Strange Supreme was going to go, and holy cow, you know, dark, rogue, whatever you want to call it. But sure made for some great action sequences and epic battles. And anyway, and, you know, really interesting treatise on the power of love and how it can be positive and, you know, and super destructive. Anyway, just had a blast this whole season. Thanks again for tuning in and for letting me be a part of it. And also really stoked for season 3 of What If. Glad we got a teaser and we'll be anxious to learn more. So anyway, thanks again. Happy New Year. And hope to see you soon.
All right. So, yeah, I'll go with Adam first this time. What did you think overall? What was like the thing that stood out to you most about the season finale of What If?
Excuse me. I just really loved the fact that it was so Captain Carter centric, and I know they throughout the season they kind of seemed like they had to, instead of this being kind of an anthology, they're always going to kind of go into some combined storyline. So like the fact that they had to like kind of pick their protagonist, and I think she's a great one. So I loved seeing that much. Haley Atwell was obviously always great, and she was having a lot of fun with it. And I think that's a lot of it too, is I love the fact that Cumberbatch just gets to have so much fun when he's, you know, Strange Supreme. Like I love that. And so that really stood out, the two of them just being able to really kind of go at it and have a great time.
Nice. And how about you, Johnny? What was like some of that stood out to you the most for the finale?
Same kind of stuff. I like Captain Carter in this a lot throughout this whole season. I'd really love to see her get to do it in live action as well. But if that's not going to happen, I guess we'll make do with the What If. I'm not sure how I felt about that. The Infinity Stones being a big thing in this again, like, and there were multiples of them in play because Carter had all 5 and then, or 6, and then Strange Supreme had the Time Stone as well on the Eye of Agamotto. So it was interesting to see multiple Infinity Stones being played off against each other. And then Cohorty also sort of had Mind Stone power with the powers that she got from the previous episode she was in. But yeah, Carter's definitely the standout in my mind as well. I liked everybody throwing their weapons at her at the end. So she got like Hela's helmet, Mjolnir, Gungnir, I think was Odin's spear that was in play there too. All of Hela's knives, the 10 rings. It was neat to see all of those MCU artifacts playing against each other.
Yeah, you know there's going to be a Funko Pop of Captain Carter with the helmet on, holding the staff, with the shield, with the Infinity armor on, like decked out with all that stuff, and then like a version of Cohorty with like the 10 rings on and whatnot there as well. And she had and also Cohorty is worthy because she was, you know, wielding Mjolnir there.
Yeah.
So
it really played into my D&D geek inside, like thinking, oh, do I need the Rod of Seven Parts and the Iron Hand of Vecna, the Iron Hammer of Gizan, the Dwarven Thrower, like, which is essentially what Mjolnir is. Like, it's the same as a Dwarven Thrower from D&D. It does the same thing. So that was cool. I really liked that aspect of the episode.
Yeah, like you were saying too, we had another version of Thanos in here too that also had all of the Infinity Stones on his gauntlet too, that got snapped away by Killmonger, who apparently won that battle with Zola because they were contained in like one of those little like spell orbs from the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So I guess since we didn't see that Infinity Ultron in this, that he won that eventually. Because that was one thing I was worried about, or like trying to think about, like in this. I was like, okay, so Killmonger's in here. What happened to that Infinity Ultron / Zola that kind of was fighting him at the end of that last season? So I'm glad that we kind of got that answered, I guess.
They called out, one of them called out, like, I remember one of them, I forget if it was Carter or Cohorty, who said out loud Infinity Ultron. So I think he was in there fighting as well somewhere.
Yeah, he was in one of the orbs, yeah.
Yeah. So, and just to kind of recap a little bit of who's in these orbs too. So some of the people we saw in there's first, now when Strange, goes and gets Carter from 1602, and he basically tells her that she has to help him get somebody else, and then we eventually find out that that's Cohorte. But what Earth they're on is this one where like the project, what was it, Project Rebirth, like the bomb that went off in that universe like killed everybody essentially. So there wasn't any Captain Carter, any Captain America, anything at all in that one. So then there's like this Mount Rushmore that has Red Skull on it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of like an interesting going on there, and that whole scene there with those two, with Cohorte and Captain Carter, kind of reminded me of Quicksilver and Hawkeye in Age of Ultron, with Quicksilver like going through like the forest there. So I thought that scene was done really well between the two of them. You always have to have the scene too where the two heroes meet each other for the first time and they fight each other, so you can kind of get the powers bouncing off of one another.
Yeah.
So I thought that was handled well too. And so in the orbs, I think there was a Star-Lord in there. There was a Great Protector in there. There was a Vision. There's another Happy Hogan / Hulk Hogan freak in there. Korg, Wenwu, and some of the Ten Rings was in there. Captain Marvel was in there. Proxima Midnight, Fenris. We had another Hela in there. We had like 3 or 4 different versions of the Hulk. There was there was the Hulk in there, but I mean we also had 3 or 4 different versions of Thor too, and one of them being a Thulk, which I thought was interesting and kind of cool to see, like that Thor Hulk like all decked out. And then what did you guys think of like some of like these different characters?
Yeah, my personal favorite was Gunslinger Loki.
Oh yes,
That was cool.
Yeah, it was. Cool. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool, and I like that this gives the opportunity to really kind of just throw everything together, and just be able to say like, oh, that'd be cool to see, Thor Hulk, sure, throw it in there, So I thought that was a really neat way to just kind of let the animators kind of have fun with that too.
Yeah, how about you, Johnny?
I liked seeing Hela again. Again, not Hela the White, not the Hela from 1602, but another version of Hela from who knows where, on Fenrir, like taking care of all the zombies. At first, when that wash of green came out, I thought somebody was doing something with the time stone. I thought it was going to be someone else from the end of the 1602 episode, but then it ended up being Hela. So that was cool. I'm interested, like what happened with the Hela the White. Like I want to know more about what she went on to do. But it was cool to see Hela again in this. Although I don't know if it's interesting because Hela's a lot more snarky throughout all of What If than I remember her being from the movie, but I might not be remembering the movie well enough.
I think she was pretty snarky in that. Just like if for only like when she's walking through like Odin's like hall of like like trophies and stuff. And he's like, fake, not real. This one sucks.
Yeah.
Knocking stuff over. Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, like to see like all these like different variations of like, I guess what they were calling universe killers in this, and I kind of like assumed like it was like Strange Supreme was going to be like, you know, the secret bad guy of this, still kind of dealing with his grief over all of that from like his season 1 episode. Now and then we did I asked a question about this too with like Clancy Brown a few episodes ago, with him like doing one episode, like doing like one line there. So we got to see him. I mean, he's essentially is kind of doing one line again with a little bit more to say. What did you think about like that whole rematch between him and Hela in this too? That was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, they're playing the hits. But they yeah, and same thing, you know, Clancy Brown, just you give him one line, but he's gonna have fun, and he's gonna kind of, you know, vary it a little bit. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and it's stuff that, you know, is so much easier to do in animation in terms of, you know, like scale and everything, you know, just so it's cool that you're able to just basically whatever you want, you can make it happen. It's going to take time, but you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been. I liked the both of them being like you, like just immediately they see each other and they don't care about anything else that's going on. So that was fun. It would have been nice to see like some Easter eggs, even if it's just a glimpse in the background of like Galactus or the Silver Surfer, just a flash of someone that, or Wolverine or Juggernaut, like just a flash in the background too. They don't have to be front and center, just as like an Easter egg. And maybe there is something in there that nobody's seen yet. I haven't watched any here's all the Easter eggs you missed videos. So maybe there's something in there that we haven't noticed.
Yeah. I wonder if Adam, like you said, just like with like animation, like I guess there's like pros and cons to it, where like a lot of this stuff that we're seeing here is like assets they've already been using this season. None of it outside of like Thulk, I guess, would be like the one kind of like thing that we haven't like seen before in this area. Because other than that, like we see like that collector from season 1 in there. It's like pretty much all these versions of characters we've seen between season 1 and season 2 of this so far. Although, like, I like Spider-Man a lot, and we've only seen Spider-Man in that zombie episode in season 1, which we got zombie Scarlet Witch again in this too. So that was interesting to see, and I liked basically Hela having control over all of the zombies, you know, being, you know, God of the Dead. That would make sense so that she can control all the zombies there. Also, it seems like Cohorty took out zombie Scarlet Witch too. So
it seemed like it. Yeah,
is Cohorty more powerful than Scarlet Witch, then? Or at least that version, I guess.
Yeah. It seems like with their Skybeam battle, they kind of set that up. So yeah, I would guess so.
Well, it's technically what powers from the Reality Stone and powers from the Mind Stone, or is it Space Stone and Mind Stone?
Yeah, Space Stone versus Reality Stone, I guess. Or no, hers is the Mind Stone because it was from Loki's staff. Although maybe in that world, maybe it was from someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like that is something there too. Is like it felt like full, but also empty a little bit too, with like how full of like all these different villains and stuff. Because Gordy says that he's pulling in like righteous heroes from other universes too, but we really only see in there, besides Cohorte and Captain Carter, the Star-Lord, and we don't know if... I'm assuming that Star-Lord is a good guy Star-Lord.
Yeah, he was the only one that I really clocked as a hero out of that, and it was kind of a blur, so I'm sure if I go back I can probably find a few more, but like he was the only one that seemed featured.
Yeah.
But it mostly seemed villains.
I think I saw T'Challa's version of Star-Lord there somewhere in the background as well. But outside of Star-Lord, whether it be T'Challa or Peter Quill, I think those were like, and Captain Carter and Cohorte, I think those were like the only 4 heroes that we saw like doing stuff there. I mean, I guess Thor versus Thor would be heroes too. But
There was the other Mohawk with Cohorty. I can't remember his name. Or he was falling down. I don't know if we saw him in the battle anywhere, but he was one of the ones falling that she ended up portaling back. Yeah, he's the only other one that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that could have been like an interesting thing to do here too. Is like you had essentially like all like the bad guys fighting the bad guys, and they're supposed to be like universe killers, but that could have been like maybe like a cool almost like Secret Wars kind of preview thing where it's like, here's like all the good guys you met this season, they're over here. Here's all the bad guys you met this past season, and now it's the opening of the X-Men '97 series where they're all running at each other. Which they kind of did a shot like that with like the Thors coming at each other a little bit, but is there like anything like within, I guess, like those scenes that we didn't get that you would have liked to see, but like besides like Galactus or stuff like that you would have liked to saw like in the Sanctum Infinitum?
I think I just would have liked a little more room, I think, for all of the different universe killers for them to breathe a little bit. Because I do think, a half-hour episode, I get it, but just kind of having them all crammed in there. But I would have liked to have seen little glimpses maybe of their universes and them destroying them, or just kind of where they came from, so you had a little more context for it during that battle. And if it were a longer episode, I'm sure they could have done that. But yeah, so that would have been cool just to kind of see context of those universes.
We spent so much time with the 1602 people that I would have liked to see that team and Black Widow. Like, was Black Widow anywhere in this episode? Because we spent so much time with Black Widow and Peggy together. I would have liked to see Black Widow and that team from the end of 1602, like helping Cohorty and Carter in the run up to the Forge. Like, and they can get knocked off and dropped back along the way and still have the end where it's just Cohorty and Carter against Strange Supreme. But it would have been nice to see them like assist those two on the run to the Forge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like maybe like the 1988 like Avengers in there, get like I don't know, like like the new Nebula like Guardians from like the you could have had. I mean, maybe they were in there, but like they're like super in the background and not featured at all.
Yeah,
that could have been just because of how they did season 1 finale with like essentially working in like, here's Party Thor from this episode, here's Captain Carter from that episode, here's Killmonger from that episode, Strange Supreme from that episode, to outside of just Captain Carter and Cohorty being like the weaving parts of the tapestry that kind of put the rest of the season together, include a little bit more of that stuff outside of like, I guess like young Peter Quill being in one of those orbs, but I don't think it's meant to be the same Peter Quill from that first episode. But go ahead.
I wonder if that is a budgetary thing. We talked last time about like it didn't seem like there were many budgetary concerns because of all the big names that they got to come back and do voices for this. Maybe at this point, like that's a budgetary thing. They only have that much left to pay, the people who did the primary voices for this episode, because we had so many of the big names in the 1602 episode.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Adam probably knows more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I'm not really sure what the budget was, but I think that makes sense. And, but yeah, I agree, though. I would have loved to have seen that team kind of brought back into it, because I loved that last episode, and I loved, swashbuckling Ant-Man. So that and Happy in that episode, my two favorites. But yeah, I just think that would have been a lot of fun to see them kind of join in there, even just for a few seconds. But I understand, again, very, very short episodes, and so you got to kind of fit in what you can. And with the last season, like we were saying, they were able to pull people from different episodes, and this one, it almost seemed like this season they said, oh yeah, you like that, right? Okay, so they kind of just sped run it at the very last couple of episodes, and so I think they realized that the formula works, and so they just kind of sped through it a little bit. So I would have liked to see a little more of bits and pieces from the different episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the other thing, like speaking of Hella the White earlier here, we kind of got like another kind of Lord of the Rings kind of comp-esque thing too with like Captain Carter, essentially, like when Strange Supreme more or less becomes, you know, um, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of
A Balrog.
a Balrog. Yeah, it essentially becomes a Balrog there, and she's essentially Gandalf jumping towards him, like in that whole scene. I thought that was kind of cool, like a nice little reference back or like comp there with that, and I liked. Now, the interesting thing there too is that we see like that like good kind of version of Doctor Strange, kind of like pop his little head out of that too, like that like the good Doctor Strange that he absorbed in that episode in season 1 too, which seemingly is what allowed what we see at the end of the episode to happen. Now, what did you think about that? So that like he was able to reconstitute that world. Just now, that world, he does not exist in that one. What did you think about?
It's interesting that there is the potential to restore a destroyed reality, because that brings in a lot of possibilities for future things with the multiverse saga and everything that's going on and incursions.
Yeah.
One thing that was neat, not related to that, but related to Strange Supreme, when she decked him and like split the demons out of him for a second, it was cool the way they did the difference in the animation between Strange and the cloudy smoke demon behind him before they remerged.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a neat technique that they did there. But yeah, I think the fact that they've established now that realities can be reborn has interesting implications for the future and for like Secret Wars.
And I had a slight question, but I don't know if it was just because she has like the super soldier serum. Is that was she just barehanding all of the Infinity Stones in her hand when she punched him?
Looked like it, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
All right,
Because Cohorty like flung them out, and she caught them as she was making the leap, and then was punching him with the hand that was holding the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, so that's I guess the only question I have with that was like, is she only okay because she has the super soldier serum, or did she still have like a gauntlet on? Because I couldn't remember if she
had a glove on. She wasn't barehanded. She had, but I don't think it was anything special. I'm wondering, did we ever see Captain America pick up or even touch an Infinity Stone throughout? So maybe he could have been fine too, just picking them up. We don't know because we haven't seen it. We would have to assume, she was okay holding all of them in one hand, even if it was a gloved hand. Maybe Steve Rogers would be as well.
I mean that is a good segue into speaking outside of seeing Idris Elba there at the end with. I'm wondering if it's supposed to be, I guess, spoilers for end of Loki season 2. If people haven't seen the end of Loki season 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, where Loki's they're inside of Idris Elba. I don't know if that's supposed to be the same one. Yeah, there you go.
I would assume it has to be. Like they don't. I mean, you don't throw that in, and it looked nearly identical to the Yggdrasil that Loki sprouted at the end of the last season. That it almost has to be.
Yeah, and I don't think you make a visual like that and don't try to link it. They did. Yeah. I think part of that was see what we can do with the multiverse, and also part of it was look how cool this thing was. You remember that? Well, it's back.
Although I'm kind of bummed because they showed it in like the ads for the season. Granted, it had like Christmas ornaments and stuff on it, so it wasn't like a 1-for-1 for what it looked like in the episode. But I was like, oh, like you showed like the last shot of the season in your trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. Do you remember the movie Quarantine? The adaptation of the I think it was a Spanish film, Record, the one where like they're trapped in the building and like it's from like the early 2000s.
Jennifer Carpenter, from Dexter.
Maybe, I don't know. But the commercials, the commercials that they played for it always like she was laying on the floor and it's a night vision shot and she screams and is like dragged back into the darkness.
Oh yeah.
that's the last shot of the film. That's how it ends, and they put it in the freaking trailers.
That's the
and the commercials.
That came out while I worked at Blockbuster. That was the DVD cover too.
Yeah, it's the last shot of the film, and it's like we're watching the movie and we're waiting for it and wait. I'm like, when is this gonna happen? Because we saw it. It was like the big thing in all the promotion. It's the last shot of the film.
It was Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was the Rhino fight, him throwing the the manhole cover. Yeah, last shot of the film.
Yeah.
Or
I hate when they do that.
Terminator Genesis, with the reveal with John Connor being, spoiler alert, a Terminator, which is also on the poster for that movie. Which you'd think that would also be something you'd want to save to be a reveal in the movie, but I don't know. I don't usually think the people that are doing the ads for or like the trailers or stuff usually are like the same people that are working on the. I know it's usually like separate companies,
separate trailer houses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of a bummer, I guess. But I mean, it was a good shot for them to have like a pan around of the Watcher and Captain Carter to like reveal the What If logo.
Yeah.
Too. Now, speaking of that, was there anything else in this episode as we start to close out that you wanted to highlight that we didn't talk about yet? Either Adam or Johnny.
This was not the way I was expecting it to go. I kind of would have liked to see it go in a different direction, because I think there was, like, I don't know what I was expecting. I thought they were actually gonna it's the bait and switch really that got me. I'm like, oh, we're doing this again. Like, I don't know that they've necessarily done it in What If, but we've seen that in fiction and media so many times. That same, oh, you've got to take this person out. Surprise, you actually have to team up with them to take out the person who got you to take them out. You know, we've seen that so much. I would have liked to have seen it actually been her teaming up with Cohorty and others to take out a threat. Not to say that the episode wasn't good and enjoyable. That's just not the way that I expected it to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just would have liked it to be a little less formulaic, and I would have loved it to be an actual anthology, just all completely unrelated episodes. I think they got a little bit of backlash after the first season about that from a very probably small nerd community, but they, so I was
small
like,
but vocal.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said, oh, they'll probably just have everything separate, and they didn't, and I said, okay, well, I kind of figured that would happen, and then it turned into a big battle in the sky with shooting blue beams at each other, and I said, okay, that's but that's the formula, and it's a finale, and I think people don't really know how to sit with a finale that doesn't do that, because everybody's very used to that now. So I appreciated how they closed it out. I loved Strange Supreme. Just there's that little bit of good in him that does that, save that universe, whether he knew it or not. So I did appreciate that. But yeah, I would have liked just kind of a whole season of standalone episodes.
Speaking of blue beams in the sky, no Captain Marvel? No Ms.
She's
Marvel?
Captain Marvel's kind of there in the background in like one of the shots of like the orbs that get opened up, but that's it.
Oh, okay.
And I guess in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Because she's one of the heroes they highlight there.
The other thing I was thinking of, you were talking about the interconnectivity. Like, I didn't realize there was going to be so much back to season 1, like callbacks, or I would have gone back and rewatched season 1 before I watched this season. So that surprised me.
A good job with recapping like things that you would need to know for like at least for Strange and Carter within this. And I guess as we're wrapping up too, how did you like season 2 as a whole? Did you like season 1 more, or did you like season 2 more? Which one did you like?
I think overall I liked individual episodes from season 2 more, I think, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in this. So I loved the Die Hard episode. I loved the 1602 episode. So I like those individual little pockets I thought were really great. And so I think overall season 2, I think for me was a little stronger.
Nice. How about you, Johnny?
Yeah, it's been so long since I've watched season 1. I don't have any like major standout memories that make me think, oh well, they did this better. I know this season I loved the Nebula noir detective story, the the Happy Hogan Saves Christmas, and then the 1602. Those would probably be my top 3 of this season.
Yeah, I would like agree with that sentiment too. Is like overall, I think I liked season 2 more than season 1, and like the standouts for me were the 1602 episode, the Captain Carter Hydra Stomper episode, and then I also really enjoyed that the Christmas episode that we got with Justin Hammer there with what. And I also really liked the Peter Quill Attacks the Mightiest Heroes episode too, because I liked that kind of unexpected, like with Hope and Peter in that, because that's never been a pairing that we've seen at all in the like live action films. I don't think they've ever even met each other outside of like being maybe like in the same shot in Endgame. I don't think they've ever met. So I thought that was interesting. And to go back to that one really quick, I do remember that Hank says he's going to adopt Peter in that, but Peter's grandpa's still alive. So
yeah.
Unless Peter's grandpa's okay with just like having him go live off with Hank. But yeah, and then is there anything or like ideas like for specific episode ideas that you'd like to see with season 3? Because we know that's coming now. They released that clip with Bucky and the Red Guardian. It seems like it was an episode that was made for season 2 originally, but it's kind of continuing the tradition of the Gamora Tony episode in this season, which will now move to that episode. So outside of that one, what would you like to see in season 3 that we didn't get in season 2 or season 1?
See, now we were talking about the Christmas episode. I just want to see more Justin Hammer, because I feel like he's just really underused, and Sam Rockwell's great. And so I would love to see something like him becoming a hero or something like that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Just got to mocap Justin Hammer dancing next time though to get that fluidity of his dancing. How about you, Johnny?
Man, I don't know. I'd like to see some stuff that, like, one of the things I like a lot from What If stories is so like, what if Captain Carter got the super soldier serum? What if DC did it with Amalgam, where Clark Kent's adopted by the Waynes and then they die, so Clark Kent becomes Batman. I'd like to see more mix and match of powers. Like, what if Scott Lang wields Mjolnir, like, and he becomes Ant Thor, like stuff like that would be cool to see. I suspect there's going to be more interconnectedness throughout next season, like we saw with this season. So I'll be interested to see where they take it, and if it's going to be a whole season of like Peggy and the Watcher looking in on things on their scenic route home, or if we're not even going to touch on that. Like, if that was just a fun way to round out this season, it'll be back to just she's home and it's just the Watcher talking about stuff. Because I suspect that if they look in on stuff and Peggy sees things that she doesn't like, she's going to want to go fix it.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, I think for me, like, speaking of like the blending of like two different kind of mixed characters kind of things, I would like to see more Spider-Man in season 3 too. And maybe like some of the shows that have come out between season 1 and season 2, like She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel. We know Miss Marvel is going to be integrated into the Zombies animated series that they're doing. So I'd like to, like, if they do Spider-Man in season 3, I'd like to maybe see like a Rack Knight where it's like the Moon Knight Spider-Man combo there. That could be cool to do that. And then I don't know, I think it'd be interesting just to see like stuff with like that, or like more stuff with like the Eternals. I know, like, because I think there's like an Eternals zombie in the Zombies series too. So it'd be cool to see like some more of the stuff that's come out between like these seasons, like integrated into like a season 3, and like we saw with like the Shang-Chi stuff and 10 Rings within this season. So that's what I'd like to see more of too. And I know there's also that one idea that everyone always wants to see is like, what if the other half was blipped, and just to see like what that all that story would entail.
That could be really interesting.
Granted, we have to remember all this has to be done in 30 minutes too. So.
Yeah, I feel like they could do a 2-parter
Yeah,
or,
I mean,
or a
technically this
three-parter.
one was kind of a two-parter here at the end,
Yeah.
because I guess they wrote 1602 and the finale concurrently. So, now, be interesting for sure. But I think outside of that, that'll do it for us. Now, with that, Adam, where can people find you guys online?
Yeah, so Twitter, Adam J. Malloy, and then my Instagram is adam.malloyvo. So those are the two places you'll find me most easily. And then new website's coming soon, adammalloy.com.
Right. And then how about you, Johnny?
Geek the F Out on YouTube. Our main thing is our Trek Retrek show, where I've watched all of Star Trek, and my co-host Kayla had up until now not really watched any. So we're going through the original series episode by episode and talking about that. And then on socials, we also do live streams on anything and everything geek entertainment. And then on socials, it's on the screen at GTFO channel. On Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Kayla runs all the social media, so that's where to find the stuff that she posts.
Nice. And then for Animation Fascination, you can find all of these episodes edited together as one thing in an audio podcast coming soon. So that should be a fun experiment for people to listen to successive thoughts over 9 days as we try to figure out what's going to happen. But that's where you can find that, as well as all of these episodes too. But for myself, for Adam, for Johnny, thank you all for joining us this week and for this past 9 days. And with that, we'll see you in the future. Bye, everybody.